Following a call between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, our next guest says that a face-to-face meeting is unlikely to happen before next year. Joining us now to talk all things U.S. and China, U.S. Ambassador to China, David Perdue. I know you look at him and you said, no, he's CEO of Reebok. No, he's the CEO of Dollar General. No, he's a senator. No, he's you're ambassador to China now, but we know you with so many other hats, Mr. Ambassador.
Good in your ear.
Good to be with you, Joe.
Yeah, we didn't hear that first part. I don't know where your mic was, but you look no worse for wear. Living over there, you look very good, Mr. Ambassador. It's good to see you. So you actually, that was news. You made some news when you said it probably won't be this year.
Well, we're still trying. I mean, you know, we've gone back and forth on the logistics around the meeting that the president and President Xi are trying to have. Look, these are two great leaders who respect each other. They've gotten together many times before. They've already had 3 phone calls this year and various messages that we know of that have gone back and forth. They respect each other. There are obviously differences, but these are two people in unique positions that want to do something great, and I think they want to do it together. Look, we're trying to make this relationship, which is the most consequential in our time, to be less adversarial and buy some time here to find a way to coexist while still standing up for our workers, our farmers, and the things that are important to America.
You do defer to Secretary Bessent on a lot of things related to trade, though. Do you get involved in that at all, in trying to urge the Chinese to do certain things that our trade people want?
Well, first of all, we have the A team right now in Secretary Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. These are the best, and they're dealing with Hully Feng, who is also very capable. They've had 4 meetings now. We get involved to reinforce the messages that come out of those personal face-to-face meetings when we're back in Beijing. So, yeah, we reinforce what they're trying to accomplish. And we try to explain to the leaders of China, and they've given us great access because of this relationship I mentioned between Trump and Xi. They give us the access that we're hoping for, and we're able to deliver that message to reinforce what Secretary Bessent and Jamieson Greer are trying to do.
I mean, you are able to meet with Chinese companies or U.S. manufacturers in China. Do you urge them to, what do you tell them? It'd be better if you'd come home?
Well, first of all, we don't have to tell them anything. They already have learned the risk of being over there, from exit bans to the new trade barriers and non-tariff trade barriers that are in existence to the change in their espionage laws that make it very difficult for an outside company to come in and do regular market research. You have to be very careful not to cross that line. And then we see the latest embargo that was put on April 4th on magnets and so forth. So I think what's happened with American businesses is they no longer look at just the profit margin they can get out of selling to 1.4 billion consumers. They now look at the risk-adjusted return from being there.
You met with President Xi, and I just wondered, could you describe what that was like and what you talked about?
Well, Joe, I love you, but I can't talk about what we talked about in that meeting. This was an honor to meet him. We had a lengthy personal one-on-one meeting after I was confirmed over there, presented my credentials, and I found him to be very dynamic, very engaging. He talked a lot about his respect for President Trump. We talked a lot about what Trump was trying to do relative to the tariffs and so forth. But these are, and oh, by the way, he echoed again that he really wanted to meet with President Trump whenever we could make it happen. So it was a dynamic conversation. He was very engaged, knew a lot about American interests and so forth. And we were, able to get our shots in, too, about what President Trump is trying to do.
I guess we're just trying to figure out where we stand on the global picture when you see, closer ties between China and North Korea, closer ties between China and Putin and Russia, and whether any of that comes up. And then I don't know what you can say about Taiwan, because I don't know what our old policy was on Taiwan. If it's called strategic ambiguity, it's called that for a reason. Is it the same ambiguity that it used to be, or has the ambiguity changed at this point?
Well, you bring up two very important points. Let me address the first one quickly, Joe, and that is China's role as a partner, if you will, with determining what the new world order is going to look like. Marco Rubio has talked about it. President Trump has talked about it. We're willing to have China participate, but with that participation comes responsibility. They could help us end that war in Ukraine right now. President Trump has tried to get them to stop buying Russian oil. We know that 90% of the Iranian oil goes to China. If China were to stop buying oil from Iran, it would make a huge difference in the Middle East. So if China wants to really be a partner in turning the future of the world order, we'd like to see them be a little more responsible as well. And, you know, with regard to the other issues that President Trump is trying to communicate to them, I think he's being very successful. This is the one president that I've seen in my lifetime has the ability to hit them in the face and yet turn around, put an arm around them, and really begin to negotiate. You can look at the TikTok deal, the Boeing potential deal, and so forth, and this is a man that understands how to get things done, and this is what he's all about right now. With regard to Taiwan, he has said very clearly, we're not changing the one China policy. We are going to adhere to the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 communiques, and the 6 assurances that were done under Reagan. Look, this has served the world very well. We don't want any coercion, but we want this resolved peacefully.
Mr. Ambassador, what would you say about from what you can tell anecdotally about the economy in China right now? Is it humming? Do you have question marks about, I mean, are things being built that no one's moving into? Do we believe the numbers that the country reports?
You know, China's a big country. It's got 1.4 billion. It's got regions that are doing well and the regions that are not doing well. The real estate bubble has burst over there, though. You can see tens of thousands of these concrete building construction sites that have been abandoned. Consumers are not as active as they were. You see shopping malls that have closed down. But I will tell you, the affluency in Beijing, they look more like a capitalist society than they do a socialist society. There is an income disparity. They have something over there called elder care, where families take care of their elders. So they don't have a great social program for retirement or for health needs and that sort of thing. So the economy is a mixed bag right now. In 2016, President Xi Jinping decided to focus on state-owned enterprises. That hasn't worked out very well for him. He's beginning to change that and move back to the entrepreneurial sector. But there are plenty of companies, and we've met with some of them ourselves, like Xiaomi and others, who are doing very well. So it's an enigmatic question, but I think that right now they've got to work out the banking crisis that they have relative to the debt of all this overbuilding in real estate over the last decade.
Mr. Ambassador, you were in the Senate before. You know the makeup in Washington. You know the bipartisan feelings, for the most part, that China is a big threat, a huge competitor, and one that we have to protect ourselves against. Do you think those feelings in Washington have changed at all? And if push comes to shove, what's more important, national security issues or economic security issues?
Well, I think right now they're both important. National security, as we saw with magnets, reared its ugly head when we had an embargo on magnets and rare earth elements, that we realized a lot of our industry here had become single source supply dependent on China, and we know that's not acceptable. So this administration, President Trump has issued an edict. We are going to become more independent of that. Let me say this, though. I think that what President Trump is trying to do is buy some time, lower the temperature, find a way to coexist with these guys, and it's the only alternative that makes any sense. I think what I see happening right now in Congress is nothing but a reflection of what's happened with the American people. And I tell the Chinese all the time, this is their fault, the Chinese fault. What they've done is pushed America too far. And the Americans are reacting to it. They don't like that these industries have been hollowed out. They don't like that they're in our power grid. They don't like that they're in our ports. And so what's happening is politicians, of course, reflect that. That's the way our system works. And so the way to deal with that is to deal with us straight up, what President Trump's trying to do on trade, national security issues, and so forth. Look, Secretary Hegseth met or has called his counterpart. Secretary Rubio is talking and has met with his counterpart, the foreign minister from China. We have our FBI directors about to go over there. We just had a bipartisan congressional delegation from the House led by Adam Smith, the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee in the House. It's the first House delegation that we've sent over there since 2019. So one of my roles is to increase communication and make awareness grow here in America about what the realities are in China.
Ambassador, Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, has stood by the side of the president, but at the same time has recently said that he believes that China and Huawei are literally, quote, nanoseconds behind NVIDIA and some of the American chip makers that are trying to do more with AI. And I think the suggestion that he's been making effectively is that the administration may be making a mistake if they prevent companies like NVIDIA from competing in China. His view is that they should be effectively competing away a Huawei, if you will, as opposed to doing it through restrictions because Huawei will get there anyway. What do you think of what Jensen Huang is saying?
Well, with his track record, you have to at least pay attention to what he says. He's a very accomplished, successful person in that high-tech chip business. You know, the H-20 was already over there when President Trump made that announcement. But look, we just met with Microsoft in China, and we've done deep dives of this chip thing. Of course, Huawei is going to get there, but then where will NVIDIA be, and where will some of these other people be at the same time? So this is a very dynamic, research-based competition that the United States actually is still in the lead, but we've got to make sure we maintain that lead. And this implies changes in a lot of different areas. How do we attract human capital? How do we employ capital? And how do we then compete on the world stage with regard to this chip competition? Look, in 2013, Andrew, President Xi wrote Made in China 2025, told the world what they were going to do in the area of technology. This is the one area they haven't really been that successful in, and they're focused on that right now. We need to pay attention to that.